let's have the money shot. Hello and welcome to Big Friendly Grub. I hope you are well. Now today I want to show you how to do a British classic, in fact an English classic. I don't usually get specific over the English stuff versus the British stuff, but it is definitely an English classic specifically, because today I want to show you how to do the traditional Cornish pasty. I say traditional, it won't be truly traditional because I'm not in Cornwall, I'm in Brighton. So I can't actually call it a Cornish pasty in the truest sense of the word, because it has to be made in Cornwall for it to be a truly traditional Cornish pasty. The Cornish get very defensive over their Cornish pasties. It is kind of protected by all sorts of guidelines and things like that to say what is actually a Cornish pasty. It's very, very specific. It has to be made in Cornwall. It has to have beef in it. It has to have potatoes. It has to have swede or turnip or rutabaga as it may be called in some places. And it has to have the other one, onion, in it as well. It also has to be folded and crimped in a certain way as well, because you can get two types of pasty. You can get the one with the crimp on the top, which looks very nice, but it's not the Cornish pasty way, and you've got the one that gets crimped around the sides, and that is the traditional way to do it. Now I love the Cornish pasty not only because it tastes fantastic, but it's just really simple ingredients that are done so well. It just tastes amazing, and I love the history of it as well, because the idea behind the Cornish pasty was it was something that the Cornish miners could take down into the mines and basically have as their dinner. They would carry it in their pocket or satchel or whatever they would have on them, and it was so robust. They would carry it around with them all day. It had the crimp around it because it wasn't a decorative thing, but it was actually something sturdy that they could hold and then throw away afterwards, because their hands would be covered in coal and dust and all sorts of things like that. Also, traditionally, it would have two types of filling in it as well, which was like the beef, the onions, the swede, potato, etc. But also like a dessert half, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm sure that there was like two halves to it. So they would have like a main meal and a dessert in one handy package, basically. And while I won't be doing a two-course one today, maybe that'll be something for the future, I want to show you how to make a traditional Cornish pasty as best as I can, because again, I'm not in Cornwall. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. I'm going to show you how to make the pastry, because you want a specific type of pastry which involves not only putting butter in it, but also lard as well. Otherwise, it's, again, not a Cornish pasty. So I'm going to try and show you how to do that all from scratch, and hopefully we'll get some lovely, lovely Cornish pasties out of this. And I'm really looking forward to this one because I haven't had a Cornish pasty in ages. So let's get started. So first things first, we've got our pastry. We're making a short crust pastry here. But as I said before, it's got butter and lard in it. So it's slightly more fatty and a little bit richer, but it's absolutely delicious. And that's the pastry that makes a Cornish pasty, amongst other things. So to start off with, we want some strong white flour. This is 500 grams worth, so this should make roughly about 6 pasties. We want about a teaspoon's worth of salt as well. And then we want 125 grams worth of butter and 125 grams worth of lard. So it's a 2-to-1 split between flour and fat. Missed a bit. Then just like any other short crust pastry, we're going to dive in with our hands and start rubbing the flour in with our fingertips into the butter and the lard until it becomes a breadcrumb-like texture. It's a very, very warm day today, so I've tried to cool my hands down under the cold tap, because otherwise the butter and lard will just melt into the flour and won't get the consistency that we want. You could just do this in a food processor, it would be much, much easier, but I want to show you how to do this with your hands. Alternatively, if you don't have a food processor but you do have really hot hands, you could also use a knife as well to cut through the butter and the lard. It just does take a little bit longer, but it works as well. So that's not far off, but my hands are starting to get warmer now and they're going to start to melt the butter. So I'm going to dive in with this knife technique and just cut through some of the bigger lumps of butter until this becomes nice and fine. So that's pretty much there. That's got a much more breadcrumb-like texture. There's a few larger pieces there, but nothing that won't mix in once we start adding our water, which we're going to do now. So I'm going to add in 175 milliliters of water, and this is water that I've been keeping in the fridge because again, we want everything nice and cold so it doesn't melt any of that butter. I'm just going to get in there with my hands and just start to bring it all together. So that's come together really well, but now we just need to knead it for a bit so we can get some of that elasticity into it. Otherwise, again, we won't have gluten in there to make it a nice strong shell for holding our filling. So I've got my pastry onto my board and I'm just going to dust down some flour to be able to make sure it doesn't stick, a bit over the top as well. And then I'm just going to start kneading this for a good 5–10 minutes until this is a nice elastic dough and a lot smoother as well. It's really therapeutic this, so don't be afraid to get in there with your hands, but if you do have a stand mixer, you can use that as well. But again, I'm doing everything by hand today. Right, that's had a good 6 or 7 minutes worth of kneading. It's a much more elastic dough now. See, stretch it out more. So that can now go into the fridge to chill for at least 3 hours, because otherwise it's just far too soft and sticky to handle at the moment. And pop that into the fridge for a good 3 hours or so. But true in Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. Blue Peter is a kids program where they make a lot of things and they tend to do a lot of preparation in advance. You can tell this is made earlier because it's much more solid. So I'm going to leave this out for at least 15 minutes before I use it because it's too solid at the moment. So we want it to be able to roll out nicely, so it's just too solid at the moment. But while that is warming up.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
So while that is becoming less solid, we can get on with our filling for our Cornish pasties. Right, for our filling we want 150 grams worth of onion, that'll be about this size onion here. 150 grams worth of Swede, that's one of these bad boys here. Well, it won't be the whole thing, but it'll be part of this. And we want 300 grams worth of potatoes. Ideally, the waxier the better. I've got some Maris Pipers here. I don't think they're the waxiest that you can get, but they are pretty good. And then it won't be a Cornish pasty without the beef. And I've got 400 grams worth of beef skirt here. If you can't get beef skirt, then you can use pretty much most other kinds of beef as long as it's not minced. I think any sort of steak will do, but traditionally it's more beef skirt. So I'm just going to get everything peeled and diced. We want it to be nice sized chunks, not too big because we want everything to be able to cook within the pasty, but not too small either that we don't have any texture and you can't differentiate between everything in the pasty. So some nice sized chunks, I reckon about 2 to 3 centimeters will probably do, but I'm going to judge it by eye. So I'm going to get everything peeled and diced, and we will do that through the power of magic / speeding things up. Right, now that I've got all my filling diced up into nice sized pieces, I want to now season this. I'm using these lovely fetching gloves because I have done the now ritual chopping of my finger, but we just want some nice salt. So I've got some nice sea salt, going to do a good grind here. There's lots of filling, so we want it well seasoned because again, it's basic ingredients. So we're just going with some salt and pepper, and we don't need anything else because if we did, the Cornish would tell us off. Whoops. And some lovely ground black pepper as well. I love black pepper, so I'm not going to go gentle with it. Then with all our seasoning in, I'm just going to work it all into our ingredients and just get everything mixed up together nicely so it's all well distributed. Now with our filling already, all that's left to do now is roll out our pastry, get it filled, crimped, and then into the oven, and we'll have Cornish pasties. Right, I'm going to get my pastry onto a well-floured board, dust it with some more flour on the top, and get it rolled out to a decent size and thickness. Like I said, we should get 6 out of this hopefully. So I've got that rolled out to about centimetres worth of thickness, maybe about 1.5 centimetres. And we want a roughly 20 centimetre circle, which is roughly what the bottom of this flan tin is. So I'm just going to cut around that to get our circular shape for our pasty. Have I got enough room for another? Yes, I do, just about. We'll be able to re-roll this so we can get a couple more out of it. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get 6. Sometimes it gets 6, but 4 will do if not, because it's just me. Then into one of my circles, I'm going to put a good amount of filling right into the middle of it. Don't want to overfill it, but I definitely don't want to underfill it. We want a nice pasty. Then we want to brush around the edges of this with some water to be able to seal it. And then we take our pastry, bring it up, seal it together, make sure all our filling's in there, pinch the edges, make sure it's all in there, it's well filled, and then we just need to try and crimp our edges by pushing down and folding over. I must admit, I don't have the best technique at this. I don't have years of practice like many Cornish pasty makers. I'm going to give it my best shot. Actually, that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. I'm quite happy with that. Gently pop that onto a tray, and then I'm going to do as many other pasties as I can get out of that pastry. So in the end, I managed to get 4 of these out, not 6. But I think I could have got 6 if I'd managed to have enough space to roll out my pastry a bit more, because I certainly had enough filling for 6, but I only managed to get enough pastry for 4. But I've got more pastry chilling in the fridge, so I can use the rest of that filling another time, so that's all good. But 4 pasties is plenty, so about 4 to 6 you should get out of this. And finally, before these go into the oven, we just want to brush these with a milk and egg wash to get a lovely golden colour on them, because nobody wants a pale pasty. Then these go into the oven at 165 degrees C for a good 50 to 55 minutes. So we'll be back then with hopefully some lovely golden pasties. Okay, it has been about 55 minutes and these should be a lovely golden brown. Woo! Yeah, steaming up the camera. But look at those. Whoa. Look at those. Those have come out really, really nicely. Little bit of spillage. My crimping was not quite up to scratch. But still, those are a lovely colour and it smells amazing in here. Check those out. Really, really good. I can't wait to try these. These are going to be my dinner, or at least one is anyway. And the rest, I can then probably freeze because all the ingredients were fresh, none of it was pre-frozen. So once these are cooled down, I can wrap them up, put them in the freezer and crack one out another time, let it defrost, heat it up in the oven and get really, really nice Cornish pasty. So I'm going to let these cool down a bit, display them out, and then I'm going to give one a try. Okay, these are now all out of the oven and look how good they look. They are a fantastic colour, lovely, lovely golden colour, smell incredible, look really good. My crimping could have been better, but I'm not too worried. A little bit of seepage over here, that's not good. But on the whole, these have turned out really, really nicely. They smell amazing. So I'm just hoping they're all cooked through into the middle. They should be, they've had plenty of time. And hopefully they'll have a nice crisp pastry and be absolutely delicious. So I've not had it very long to cool them down, but I don't care. I want to try one. I'm going to get one onto the plate and I'm going to cut into them. Or one of them at least. So this is obviously fresh out of the oven, so it's going to be absolutely scalding hot in the middle. But you can also have these nice and cold as well. They work just as well. So you can let them cool down and then have one then. I would keep it in the fridge though, because obviously it's filled with meat. So I'm going to cut through the middle of this. Oh yeah, listen to that. Let's have the money shot. Oh yeah, look at that. Lovely filling, all cooked really nicely, and it looks incredible. So I'm not going to waste any time because I've waited ages for these. So I'm going to go give one of these a go. Well, this one specifically. There we go, one fantastic looking Cornish pasty, which I have waited long enough to try. So let's give it a go. Oh, it's so hot. It's so hot, but I don't care. Oh. Cheers. Oh. Oh. That is absolutely bang on. That has turned out really, really nicely. Really, really nicely. That is really, really good Cornish pasty. I'd be happy to buy that in pretty much any baker's, even one down in Cornwall. Almost. I'm not going to big it up that much because the presentation needs work. But the flavours are absolutely spot on. Really, really nicely cooked beef. The potato and Swede and onion is all lovely and soft, but not too soft. You still get a bit of bite from it. And it's just turned out really, really nicely. It's really, really good. Let's try a bit with the crust. Lovely texture, nice and crisp, delicious. It's turned out so well. I am well happy with that. I am really happy with that. So yeah, that is how you make Cornish pasty, traditional Cornish pasty. As long as you're in Cornwall, then you can call it a Cornish pasty. I'll call this a Brighton pasty in this case. But it's got all the components of a traditional Cornish pasty in there. If you want to experiment with it, by all means do. Just don't call it a Cornish pasty. If you want to chuck in carrots in there, you can. If you want to try and swap for chicken or something like that, you can. If you want to do a cheese and onion one, you can. It's still a pasty, it's just not a Cornish pasty. So there's plenty you can do with that basic pastry recipe, and then you can fill it with what you like. You really can. Sometime I might try and do a 2-course one, but that's for another day. That involves a bit of adventure that I'm not quite ready for. But otherwise, I'm really happy with that. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. I hope you go out and try it and make a Cornish pasty now. And otherwise, I'm going to go off and enjoy this. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like what I do, hit the notification bell to find out when new videos are. Otherwise, I will see you next time in Big Friendly Grub, and I'm off to enjoy this. Bye! Hit the notification bell to find out when everything... Hit the notification bell to find out... Hit the notification bell to find... Hit the notification bell... Hit... Got stuck. Broken record.